Have you ever wondered why some people learn quickly while others struggle, even when trying hard? The secret isn't in how much time you practice, but in how you practice. With the right strategies, you can learn anything faster and more efficiently without wasting energy. How about you? Do you feel you're practicing the right way, or do you think there's room for improvement? Let us know in the comments. Let's talk. Practice, as they say, is the mother of all skills. It's almost magical how consistent repetition transforms a clumsy beginner into a confident master. Think about learning to drive. At first, everything feels challenging, with every action demanding full attention. But over time, and with repetition, those tasks become automatic, as if your body and mind are dancing in perfect harmony. That's the power of practice. It offers no shortcuts, but rewards persistence. Now imagine someone learning to play the guitar. Initially, the strings hurt their fingers, their hands feel clumsy, and the music seems like a distant dream. However, with daily dedication, moving between chords becomes fluid, muscle memory strengthens, and the music finally comes to life. This is how practice turns "I can't" into "this feels natural." There's no glamour in this process. It's about embracing the difficulties and committing to them. Practicing isn't just about repeating for the sake of repetition. It's like tending to a plant. You don't just water it, but also observe, adjust the light, and nurture the soil. An athlete, for example, doesn't just run every day. They analyze their performance, adjust their posture, and even use mental techniques to improve. The more intentional your training, the better the results. Even simple tasks can benefit from mindful practice. Want to cook better? Try a recipe repeatedly until your movements become automatic. Want to write more clearly? Dedicate a few minutes daily to revising texts and testing new styles. Don't underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. It's like sharpening a knife. The impact only comes with consistency. Curiously, over time, practice starts to change not just what you do, but who you are. A pianist doesn't just learn to play. They become someone who thinks and feels music. Similarly, someone who practices empathy begins to see the world through a new perspective. Training not only shapes skills, but also identity. Practice also demands patience. Progress won't always be obvious or linear, but it is happening. Think of someone learning a new language. At first, forming sentences is challenging, but suddenly words start to flow, and even dreams appear in the new language. This magic happens because practice builds a solid foundation, even when results take time. During today's video, besides the main topics, I want to share something that's made a difference in my life. Recently, I started using CineBoost, which has helped improve my focus, energy, and even reduce anxiety in my daily life. If you're curious, check out the pinned comment. The best part is you only pay for shipping. And now comes the question. What happens in the brain during this whole practice process? How does it adapt and become more efficient with each repetition? Behind the scenes of practice, the brain is constantly evolving, reshaping itself to keep up with repeated actions. It's like a grand architect building neural highways to ease the path between intention and execution. Every time you practice something, the connections between neurons strengthen, and performance becomes faster and more precise. This process is known as myelination, a kind of coding that speeds up signals between the brain and muscles. Imagine a violinist training note transitions. At first, it's like driving on a road full of potholes, slow and complicated. But with each practice, the brain paves this road, transforming it into a neural superhighway. This explains why, after many repetitions, the musician's hands seem to move on their own, almost like magic. In truth, it's pure science. The brain creates shortcuts to make the process more efficient. A fascinating detail is that this improvement isn't limited to physical skills. Practicing something mental, like solving puzzles or writing, also strengthens brain connections. Think of a writer struggling to organize their ideas initially, but over time words flow as if they have a life of their own. That's an optimized brain functioning like a well-oiled machine. But not everything is simple. The brain needs to be challenged to grow. Repeating something wrong can reinforce bad habits, meaning mindless practice can backfire. That's why practicing consciously is crucial. If you're learning to dance, for example, focus on the correct movements and fix mistakes as they arise. This way, you ensure the brain records the right information. Another interesting point is how emotions influence practice. When you're motivated or inspired, the brain releases chemicals that make learning faster and more effective. That's why creating a positive and stimulating environment during practice can make a huge difference. Something as simple as listening to motivating music while studying or training can transform your performance. Moreover, practice not only improves skills but also builds mental resilience. By persisting through challenges, you teach your brain that you can overcome difficulties. Think of a child learning to ride a bike. Each fall reinforces the lesson of balance until they finally ride unaided. This same principle applies to any learning in life. Now that you understand how the brain adapts, an intriguing question arises. Are there ways to make practice even more effective? After all, if the brain is so moldable, how can we speed up the process and maximize results? If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe to our channel. That way, you won't miss the next topic. Practicing effectively is an art that goes far beyond merely repeating something multiple times. To make your effort truly worthwhile, it's essential to adopt strategies that optimize learning. For instance, breaking a complex skill into smaller parts can make all the difference. Think of learning to cook an elaborate dish. You can start by mastering how to chop the ingredients, then preparing the sauce, and finally putting everything together. By focusing on steps, you build your skill in a solid and efficient way. Another crucial point is repetition with purpose. It's no use repeating something mechanically without analyzing what's working and what needs improvement. A good example of this is in sports. A basketball player may shoot 100 baskets a day, but if they're not adjusting their posture or angle, they're likely reinforcing a wrong movement. The key lies in paying attention to details and striving for improvement with every repetition. Minimizing distractions is also essential for productive practice. In a world full of notifications and constant noise, finding a quiet space and disconnecting from your phone can be transformative. For instance, if you're studying for an exam, try creating dedicated time blocks solely for that, without interruptions. This focused practice helps the mind delve deeper into learning and retain information more effectively. Additionally, varying practice methods can accelerate your progress. Let's imagine someone wanting to improve their public speaking skills. Instead of just rehearsing alone, they could record themselves, watch their presentations to identify areas for improvement, and even put themselves in real situations, like practicing with friends. This diversity keeps learning dynamic and challenges the brain to adapt. Another effective trick is spaced practice, which involves alternating intense training sessions with periods of rest. Studies show the brain consolidates learning better when given time to process information. So, if you're studying something complex like math or programming, try dividing your study into shorter sessions spread throughout the week instead of marathon sessions. Finally, remember that practice is an investment, not a sacrifice. Every effort you make today is like a deposit in a skills account you'll draw from in the future. To do this, maintain a mindset of curiosity and enthusiasm. View challenges as growth opportunities, not insurmountable obstacles. But there's something even more interesting. Did you know that simply imagining yourself practicing can bring incredible benefits? It's true. The next topic explores the power of mental practice. A tool many underestimate, but one that can completely change the game. Mental practice is a fascinating resource that combines science and imagination to enhance learning. It works because visualizing an action in detail activates the same brain areas responsible for physical execution. It's like training without leaving your place. For example, professional athletes use this technique before competitions, imagining every movement and gesture as if they were already on the field or court. This not only helps with movement precision, but also boosts confidence. A practical example: if you're learning to play the piano, visualize yourself sitting at the instrument. Imagine your fingers moving across the keys, mentally hear the music, and feel the rhythm. Though it seems simple, studies show this mental practice can be almost as effective as physical training. It's like preparing the soil before planting. The brain is ready to act when the time comes. Additionally, mental practice has a powerful emotional impact. Think of a speaker afraid of public speaking. They can use this technique to imagine themselves confidently addressing an audience with a firm posture and a clear voice. Repeated visualization helps reduce anxiety and builds a mental image of success that the brain begins to accept as real. Another interesting benefit is that you can use mental practice to overcome temporary physical limitations. For example, if you've injured your arm and can't train a specific sport, you can still imagine the movements. The brain continues strengthening neural connections, ensuring the skill isn't forgotten. This technique has been used by injured athletes to maintain performance during recovery. Mental practice is also excellent for those learning something new and wanting to speed up the process. Want to improve your negotiation skills? Imagine yourself in a meeting, analyzing the other side's arguments, responding confidently, and steering the conversation in your favor. This detailed visualization prepares your mind to handle real situations, reducing the impact of surprises and increasing control. The secret lies in consistency and rich details. The more specific your visualization, the greater the benefits. Imagine not only the movements, but also the sounds, textures, and emotions involved. This creates a complete experience for the brain, which responds by reinforcing neural networks related to the skill. And the best part? You can do this anywhere. On your commute to work, before sleeping, or during breaks. Just close your eyes and imagine. Now, imagine combining this technique with the physical practice strategies we've already discussed. It's no wonder that practice, both mental and physical, is at the heart of learning. This brings us to an important question. Is quantity really more important than quality? After all, the secret to success often lies in how you practice, not in how much time you spend on it. When it comes to practice, quality trumps quantity in nearly every scenario. Spending endless hours training without focus and intention is pointless. The secret lies in deliberate practice, where every repetition is purposeful and attentive. Think of a photographer spending an entire day taking hundreds of photos without adjusting framing or lighting. On the other hand, a professional who takes only a few photos but studies angles and experiments with light will have far better results. This principle applies to any field. Imagine someone learning a new language. Spending 3 hours reading a book may not be as effective as dedicating 30 minutes to conversing with a native speaker, correcting pronunciations, or learning daily phrases. Quality is about getting the most out of every minute invested, ensuring each practice session impacts your progress. Another advantage of prioritizing quality is avoiding mental burnout. Poorly structured practice can lead to exhaustion, while short and focused sessions leave you energized and more motivated to continue. For example, if you're studying for an exam, it's more productive to review a specific topic attentively than to try cramming through multiple chapters at once. The brain needs time to process and consolidate information. But how can you ensure your practice is of high quality? A powerful approach is setting clear goals for each session. For example, a musician might decide to work solely on the timing of a song, while an athlete might focus on improving their posture in a specific movement. This segmentation helps concentrate energy on what truly matters rather than wasting it on unnecessary activities. Another important tip is seeking feedback whenever possible. A writer, for instance, can send their texts for review and learn from the received comments. This external input is crucial for identifying blind spots and refining your approach. Even experienced professionals understand the value of having a mentor or coach to sharpen their skills. Finally, remember that quality practice also involves moments of reflection. After each session, ask yourself, what did I do well? What can improve? Am I closer to my goal? This constant self-evaluation acts as a map guiding you toward mastering the skill you're practicing. When you start seeing practice as a strategic process, you realize that the time spent is important, but it's not the only decisive factor. It's the intensity and purpose that make all the difference. And speaking of intelligent strategies, did you know that even just mentally rehearsing your practices can complement and reinforce your physical learning? But this is just the tip of the iceberg. After all, there's another surprising form of practice that many overlook, but can be revolutionary. Shall we explore it further? A revolutionary, yet often underestimated approach is the use of mental practice to complement physical practice. But we won't stop there. The next step involves understanding the impact this has on strengthening the mind-body connection. Interestingly, just as mental training can enhance physical execution, quality practice can be further amplified by something intangible: the power of intention and visualization. Now, think about how Olympic athletes often train, not just physically, but also mentally. They rehearse every step, jump, and breath, feeling victory before it happens. This isn't just motivation, it's science. Studies with athletes have shown that mental practice can improve performance almost as much as physical practice, because the brain doesn't fully differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. The real trick lies in the consistency of mental practice and how it combines with a quality over quantity approach. For instance, if you're learning something that requires precision, like a martial arts technique or delivering a speech, spending 10 minutes imagining the perfect movement can be as valuable as practicing it physically. When mental and physical practices work together, you maximize learning and reduce the time needed to achieve mastery. But what if you could combine this with another powerful element? Let's explore practice that focuses on specific areas involving more than physical or mental movement. We're talking about integrating emotions into the learning process. For example, musicians who infuse emotion into every note tend to connect more deeply with their audience. And this applies to other fields as well. At the next level, we arrive at the idea of emotional practice. This involves not only mastering techniques, but also reflecting on how you feel during the process. A public speaker can rehearse their speech not just to correct errors, but also to evaluate their emotional presence. Are they projecting confidence? Are they communicating with clarity? When you add emotional practice to your repertoire, both physical and mental execution gain new meaning. And here's the most interesting part. The benefits don't stop there. The impact of deliberate and mental practice not only transforms the skill itself, but also strengthens confidence and resilience. Practice becomes more than just training. It becomes a transformative experience. And if you thought these techniques were already powerful, imagine what happens when we explore the combined effects of a complete practice approach that connects body, mind, and emotion. Speaking of connection, did you know that even moments of rest and reflection are part of high-quality learning? Strategically resting between sessions can be as valuable as the practice itself. Shall we talk more about this? After all, when you combine focus, intention, and balance, learning becomes a true way of life. Rest is as crucial as practice itself. We often underestimate the power of rest, thinking only intense training will lead to progress. But here's the secret. The brain works even harder during rest periods, consolidating learning and strengthening neural connections formed during practice. It's like letting bread rise after kneading the dough. Without this pause, the result won't reach its full potential. Have you ever heard of shower insights? This happens because when relaxing, the mind enters a state that promotes creativity and problem solving. During rest, the brain organizes information, connects dots, and finds solutions that might not be obvious during active effort. So if you're stuck on something you're practicing, take a step back. A walk, quick meditation, or even a nap can bring the answer that seemed out of reach. But rest isn't synonymous with purposeless idleness. Just as practice needs to be structured, rest can also be strategic. Try the Pomodoro method, alternating 25 minutes of intense work with 5-minute breaks. This cycle helps maintain mental energy and avoids fatigue. For physical training, longer breaks between intense sessions allow the body to recover and prevent injuries. It's all about finding the ideal balance. Another key point is that rest goes beyond the physical and mental. It's emotional too. Sometimes stepping away is necessary to gain clarity. Think of someone learning to paint. After hours of trying to get the colors of a landscape right, a break can offer a fresh perspective. When they return, they notice details that seemed invisible before and adjust their technique with greater confidence. Even sleep is a form of indirect practice. During deep sleep, the brain revisits the skills and information learned throughout the day. That's why, after a good night's sleep, you might notice improvements in something you were practicing, whether it's a sport, a manual skill, or a theoretical concept. Neglecting sleep is like wasting half the work you've already done. Now, imagine combining strategic rest with deliberate mental and emotional practice. This is the secret to achieving a balance between effort and recovery, where progress becomes sustainable. But there's something even more interesting: how rest can open space for deep reflections on why you're practicing something. After all, understanding the reason behind your effort is what turns a skill into a true passion. And this brings us to the final point of this practice journey: how to align all these strategies with greater goals. What does achieving mastery truly mean? How does it impact not only your skills, but also your identity, relationships, and life purpose? Mastery goes far beyond developing a skill or reaching a specific goal. It's a transformative process that shapes who you are on a deeper level. When you dedicate yourself to something with intention and perseverance, you're not just learning a technique. You're building resilience, discipline, and self-confidence. Mastery is like a mirror. It reflects your commitment and your worldview. Think of a renowned chef who started by trying to prepare basic meals. Over time, Each dish became not just food, but a work of art that conveyed their emotions, stories, and even identity. Similarly, any practice can become a vehicle for expressing who you are. Mastery turns doing into being. This process, however, requires alignment with a greater purpose. Why are you dedicating so much time and energy to this practice? Is it to become an exemplary professional, to positively impact others, or to overcome a personal challenge? When you understand the why, every obstacle on the path stops being a burden and becomes a stepping stone. It's like a writer who doesn't write just to finish a book, but to share ideas that can change lives. Moreover, achieving mastery doesn't mean reaching an endpoint. On the contrary, it's about adopting a mindset of continuous learning. Those who are truly skilled know there's always more to learn, another level to reach. This makes the journey exciting and full of discoveries. Think of a dancer who, even after decades of experience, continues exploring new styles and movements. Mastery is an endless road, and that's its beauty. But mastery isn't something you achieve alone. Often, it's the impact you have on others that defines the true value of what you've learned. A teacher who transforms students' lives, an artist who moves audiences, or even someone inspiring positive changes within their family. This is the real legacy of dedicated and deliberate practice. However, this doesn't mean the journey is linear or easy. Mastery is filled with ups and downs, doubts, and moments of overcoming. And it's precisely through challenges that you discover your inner strength. Every stumble is a hidden lesson, every mistake an opportunity to grow. This perspective is what separates those who give up from those who persevere. Now, the most important question: what are you doing today to achieve mastery in something that matters to you? After all, it's not just about practicing, but about practicing with intention, balance, and passion. Share in the comments what you're striving to master, and let's talk about how we can grow together on this journey. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning and getting inspired. In the next video, there are even more insights that can transform your practice into something extraordinary. Ready to go?